I would have a piece of advice. If anybody in your office you want to really get special favors with them, pick up one of these brownies here and take it back. They're really good. Let me start. All of you have a packet, and there's a document in there that's called Legal Language Services. Can I ask you to find it? Because I'm going to give the message real quick. In there, there's a translation. This says this is a true translation. This is a document from China, and the original Chinese document is here at the back. I'm going to ask you to turn to the last page of the translation. And at the top of the page it says, the interest groups behind the original. And then I'm going to ask you to go down to the last paragraph. This is written by China's top patent official, the top expert, explaining what the prior bill, which is basically this bill, what it would mean to China. And here's what he wrote. The bill is friendlier to the infringers than to the patentees in general, as it will make the patent less reliable, easier to be challenged, and cheaper to be infringed. It is not bad news for the developing countries which have fewer patents. Many of the Chinese companies are not patent owners in the U.S. market, and their products are often excluded from the market because of patent infringement accusations. This bill will give the companies from developing countries more freedom and flexibility to challenge the relative U.S. patent from doing business in the U.S. and make it less costly to infringe. The bill passed in the House will weaken the patent protection, that's the old bill, and it conflicts with the attitude of the U.S. government of pressuring the Chinese government to strengthen the protection of IP rights. If your member needs a single reason not to vote for this bill, it is that the bill, according to the top experts in China, it will make it easier to infringe and less costly. It will take the property rights of American inventors and companies. It will take American jobs. Let me back that up with some additional thoughts. And the reference point I'll make is in two things. My first trip to China, and secondly, the book is about how Franklin Delano Roosevelt prepared America to fight World War II. The trip was in 1978. I was in the Department of Commerce running the Economic Development Research Department there. China was very close. We wanted very desperately to find out what was going there. The only people going there were cultural exchange programs, where you go to arts and various other things, and then you would do other things. So Commerce got me on one of those trips emanating from Chicago, and I spent a month taking a look at China in 1978. In 1978, everyone in China either wore a blue or a gray uniform, and it was a visit to the 19th century. It was quite literally equipment, environment, and cities that had made no progress. Hello. In Shanghai, there was one hotel that had air conditioning down on the bottom. Fast forward 35 years later, it is an extraordinarily dynamic country. Some of the most exciting architecture in the world is happening in China. It is a city that it is a country that has a $3 trillion reserve. It is a country that has moved past just simple basic manufacturing. It is a country that is moving to the very edge of advanced technologies. American companies, European companies are taking their assets there, and they're moving their R&D there. Companies such as Microsoft, GE, and other major companies are now deriving about a third of all of their patents outside of China. Now, this becomes very important when one takes a look. It's also important to turn off my cell phone. But it's important to recognize that the Chinese have used a very explicit strategy of technology acquisition. What they've done with major companies of the world is they said, you can come here, we'll give you tax breaks, we'll give you cheap labor, we'll give you a compliant workforce, but we want your technology. And so what the world has done is they, in literally a generation and a half, have moved China from the 19th century into the 21st century. At the same time, the Chinese are the largest infringers of patent and technology in the world. Quite literally, they view the technology as a product of mankind. They want it, they take it, they use it. I'm sure you're reading stories about the hacking that is going on in the U.S. government, of the CIA, of the State Department, the Defense Department, and of the defense contractors. I can also tell you that same hacking is going on in every major corporation. It's down to the level. Congressional offices are hacked. Patent offices are hacked. The oldest computer system that we have in the federal government is USPTO. I can absolutely guarantee you the USPTO, the secrets of the USPTO have been fully hacked. The Chinese are taking it back. Now, why is that important to this patent bill? This patent bill changes a history that says the invention goes to the first person to invent, to the first person to file. And as a corollary to that, they add in something else. They create something called prior user rights. Under prior user rights, a company operating in Europe and Japan, and it would be under the U.S., can keep a trade secret for many, many years. And they don't have to patent it. And then they can decide to patent it and get exclusive use for another 20 years. And if somebody discovered their trade secret, they would be able to continue using that trade secret. Now, here's what will happen. The Chinese are hacking these major companies, many of which now have trade secrets. They will take those trade secrets, they'll take that R&D, and they'll be the first to file a patent application. Technologies that companies now think that they own will be owned by the hacker. And in today's legal system, since you're the first to invent, you have all of the records of your invention. You can prove that you conceived of the idea, you made these improvements, and you moved, and the evidence is in your hands. You flip this system, at that point the inventor, the true inventor, has to prove that the other person wasn't first. How do you subpoena information out of China? How do you put the Chinese claimant on a witness stand and put them under oath, as you can do in the United States? So the point that I'm making here is we have a situation in which our legal environment, at least in this country, favors the inventor. And as long as we have that, even if the Chinese and the Russians and others hack our stuff, the inventor has the right to that exclusive use. They can get legal exclusion of that inventor. They can get an injunction. And if it's flagrant, they can get money. And if it's deliberate, they can get triple damages on that. It at least guarantees the American inventor that you can have the American market, the largest in the world, no matter what happens on it. This prior user rights is the primary reason that our major corporations want this bill. And let me be very, very clear. The multinational corporations are the primary advocates of this bill. They're strong for it. But these are the same companies over the past decade, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, who have removed 2.9 million jobs from the U.S. and created 2.4 million jobs abroad. All of the new jobs created in this country since the year 1977, according to the Kaufman Foundation, and I think you have information in your package on this, have been created by startups and small companies. Startups and small companies strongly oppose this bill, and you have letters from those groups there. So, I mean, my message is very simple. To vote for this bill is to disadvantage strongly startups, small businesses, venture capitalists, the people who are creating jobs in this country, and giving an advantage to the Chinese and others that are engaged in flagrant infringement and theft of intellectual property. Look forward to your questions later.